I like Tarkovsky's movies, even though I know they are not for everyone. To say that his movies are slow-paced is a massive understatement. I generally can't remember a movie of his where a major plot development happens in the first half hour, and some, this may even go up to the 1 hour mark. So if you like choppy, action-filled movies, you are going to find his work an exercise in patience. But it is there where the Soviet director wins me completely. What I love about a lot of his movies is that Tarkovsky does not want you to think about the events themselves, but rather how the characters are reacting to them, and he uses his mastery of cinema to show us this. Take an event or plot point where a character drinks poison and dies. Many directors would make fast-paced scenes of agony, with the music rising up and the character struggling to keep his life. Tarkovsky, on the other hand, would make a silent shot, with the camera making slow-paced movements that focus on the reaction of the other characters and what they must be feeling, since if you find someone you care about dead, it is very understandable that you would have your perception of time crawl to a halt. And I feel that's what Tarkovsky wants us to do when watching his movies. Stop anticipating and longing for the next event or plot point. You don't need a lot of action and expository dialogue to understand and enjoy a movie. Sometimes the important details are subtly read between the lines. Emphasize the characters and absorb the images and sound, and that, with the dialogue and events of plot complementing them, will give you maybe not the story of the movie, but certainly something worthy about it. And today I want to talk about the Tarkovsky movie that I feel does this best, Stalker. And I will pick a specific scene of the movie that encapsulates what I want to talk about it. Most importantly, however, is that I'm picking this scene because it's the one I can remember most vividly and clearly from this movie. The one that stuck with me, as is the norm in what now will be this channel's first series. Because, as I explained in the Blade Runner video, it is scenes that get stuck into my brain after I watch a movie. It is scenes that make such a long-lasting impact on me. What is Stalker? Well, if we had to put in a genre tab for people to be able to look for it in streaming platforms, it could be defined as a sci-fi flick. But here's the catch. If you were to say that to Tarkovsky, he would agree, but he would not be satisfied in the slightest, because the director wanted precisely to go against the constraints of this genre, as he felt that a lot of sci-fi movies, including the old ones and the highly critically acclaimed ones, always focused too much on technology and let it be the main actor and driving force for the movie. So Tarkovsky wanted to make the sci-fi be the background, an important and integral element of the movie, sure, but an element that didn't eclipse the main point, which is the human drama of the story. Anyway, to give a brief summary of the movie, which you can and should watch for free, link in the description, it tells a story of three men. These three men want to go into a place called the Zone, which is a mystical place said to fulfill a person's greatest innermost desire. However, the Zone is a treacherous and dangerous place, so going into it is impossible if you don't know how to navigate through it. And the only ones who know how to navigate the Zone are the people called Stalkers, our protagonist being one of them. The three men have no names for us, the audience. In fact, the only person who is called by an actual name in the movie is the bartender in the beginning. He happens to also be the only character who gets called and who has nothing to do with the Zone. So think of that what you will. The three men are our protagonist, Stalker, a naive and cautious poor man said to have a daughter that came from the zone. The professor, a mostly quiet and mysterious scientist from a university, and the writer, a very cynical and ironic, famous and successful writer. They venture into the zone to try and reach a specific room in there, the room that will grant the person's innermost desire. And the scene I want to talk about is precisely the entering of the zone. To achieve such a feat, you have to wait for a certain train to go near the zone and then go behind it on the rails, but choose to continue towards the zone. This is way trickier than it sounds, since the local government guards the zone's entrance, even though they don't go into it out of fear. When the door for the train opens, our protagonists are able to infiltrate the zone, albeit under fire. When it is clear that they are clear, we wait for them to get to the zone. At this point, I must stop and ask, what would you expect the zone and the entering of it to be? Normally in a sci-fi or fantasy movie, when your characters are venturing into a mystical, unknown place, all kinds of crazy shit go down. You have visual effects as well as much highlighted sounds, with the focus being almost entirely on the technological or fantastical elements, always very reflected on the images being shown. And that's what's brilliant on this sequence of scenes by Tarkovsky. There's no dialogue. The camera isn't pointing forward on the railroad way. Rather, it focuses on the characters themselves, making very close shots as to say to us, the audience, stop thinking about technology and the supernatural frontiers. Concentrate on humanity. That's enough. The cue for the supernatural is the very subtle and gradual appearance of strange otherworldly sounds, obfuscating the railroad, clings and noises through the use of sound filters and other transformations of the organic metal clings of the trainway. The camera keeps on them until all of a sudden it cuts and color. The movie that has been all black and white until now suddenly has color when they arrive at the zone. The sounds also disappear and we are left with complete silence, and then a shot to our protagonists. What I love about this scene is that it tells you that something has changed, something special has happened, but all we get is a sunset on a wasteland. But the use of color is all we need to have an impact from this, and to not get lost on the visuals and keep our focus on the humanity. And the thing is, I don't think that the color is simply a visual indicator of the zone's presence. Rather, it is an indication of belief. Let me explain, but I warn you that this explanation will have some spoilers that will not ruin your experience at all, but anyway, spoilers ahead. After a while in the zone, our protagonists stop to rest a little, right after the zone has played a trick on them. But as this trick does not look to be something incredibly supernatural, it appears only that they got lost. The camera again shows us our protagonists, but also material traces of the world. And I might be tripping here, I admit it, but it feels like that happens because they start doubting the zone, doubting if it is really that mystical of a place. That is important because belief and faith are central themes of Stalker. That may be because Tarkovsky has had problems with Soviet censorship asking him to remove Christian references in his past works, since communist governments tend to follow a very materialistic worldview, little space left for beliefs of the sort that Tarkovsky proposes to us. But if you look in the movie, it's not only the government that goes against beliefs. The professor and the writer also have a cynical and detached approach to the zone. Tarkovsky pointing his finger not only at oppressive governments that censor society, but also the scientists and the intellectuals for eroding our belief that there's more to life than just the material we see in this world. And in the end of Stalker, something amazing happens. The other scene I want to talk about. After our protagonists return from the zone, and so we return to black and white, we follow the Stalker back to his home, where he breaks down and enters a beautiful and sad monologue that ends with a verbal cue that makes us think that maybe the zone isn't real after all. Maybe it is just a place kept mystical due to our fear of it. Maybe if we use science, we will find the truth of it just being a wasteland, nothing more. However, after his wife has her monologue about the human drama of her life and her husband's, the scene cuts to their daughter and color. And we know that his daughter is said to have come from the zone. So, wait, is the zone real? Surely not, this is just a visual choice from Tarkovsky. And then the first clearly supernatural thing in the whole movie after 2.5 hours of it happens. With the glasses on the table being apparently telekinetically moved by the girl. After she stops moving the glasses, the table starts shaking, with the sounds of the railroad entering the fray, alongside a recording of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, Ode to Joy, whose lyrics are a message of union of humanity, but also of belief, as in this passage. Brothers, over the starry sky must a dear father live. Do you suspect the creator world? Look for him over the starry sky. He must dwell above the stars. So Tarkovsky uses shot composition, sound, writing/acting of characters, and especially in this particular case, color, to send us this message of, yes, you can live in this world without beliefs, but to do so is to see everything in grayscale, and not to bask in the colorful and meaningful happenings that really matter in this world. Since beliefs are what color our lives. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you please, that would help me a lot, and until the next one.